Hello and welcome to yet another episode of your favorite maritime program, Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Nimasa. Did you know that Nimasa derives its regulatory and promotional powers from 4 acts of parliament? First is the Merchant Shipping Act. Then we have the Nimasa Act. Thirdly, we have the Cabotage Act. Lastly and most recently is the SPOMO Act, which is the suppression of piracy and other maritime offenses. That goes to show the enormous responsibility that the agency has been saddled with by law. As always, my name is Ubong Isien and I will be your guide on this voyage.
My name is Sir Dr. Charles Wame, the CEO of Nigerian Maritime and Offshore Safety Training Center. You are watching Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. It's still Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. On today's episode, as always, we begin with the DG's diary. What has the Director General of Nimasa, Dr. Bashir Jamo, been up to? 2 major things happened during the week. And this is the week that's leading up to the celebration of his first year in office, which we will bring to you beginning next week. This week, the DG took out time to meet with one of the private sector leaders in the field of maritime capacity building. And secondly, it was the International Women's Day celebration. And Nimasa did it in style with the DG in attendance. You wouldn't miss this for anything. And on Inside Shipping today, we take you into the world of barge operations, especially the recent mishap that led to the sinking of containers in our waters. The Nimasa team led an operation comprising of MPA, NIWA, and LASWA. You get to find out how important barge operations are and some of the challenges currently being faced by these operators and how Nimasa is providing leadership in terms of its regulatory function and our other regulars that you've come to know on the program. So, if you're ready, it's anchors away.
In commemoration of the International Women's Day and as part of the events to mark his first year in office, the Director General of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa, Dr. Bashir Jamo, played host to female directors and assistant directors of the agency at a dinner party at the Eco Hotel and Suites, Lagos. In attendance were female cadets of the Nimasa National Seafarers Development Program, a former DG of the agency, Mr. Temisa Omashie, and a female shipping magnate, Barrister Mrs. Margaret Orakwesi. In her address, the special guest Barrister Orakwesi appreciated the DG for being the first to celebrate women of the agency. She further admonished the cadets to be strong, confident, and charged them to conquer the world.
The boldness and the courage to step out. So step out and conquer. Don't say, oh, I'm a woman. Maritime has no business with that feeling, no. For you to be there, you must be strong. You must go out there to get. You must be focused. And above all, you must have confidence in yourself, in your ability to make it. So I leave you today with one word. And that word is boldness. Go out there and conquer. So when you come back, you'll be able to fit in our shoes.
In his remarks, the DG expressed his delight that majority of the female directors got their promotion under his administration. He observed that in the past, women got positions based on gender, but now are getting positions based on their qualifications and competencies.
I can tell you for free, time has passed when women will go and say, give me position because I'm woman. In today's maritime industry, you must be up and doing, and you must have the capacity to hold that position. Otherwise, you will drop it and go. The system will reject you. So I have no doubt, I have no regret whatsoever to beat my chest and say more than 60% of my directors are women. I have no doubt about that.
We appreciate you for celebrating women in maritime industry, not just in Nimasa, in maritime industry. Thank you very much.
A big congratulations to the DG and the executive management for steering the affairs of the agency and achieving laudable things in this past 1 year.
In the vote of thanks on behalf of other directors, HR Director of Nimasa, Mrs. Rumke Thomas, congratulated the DG on his first year in office and thanked him for giving women the environment to thrive in the agency.
DG has given us the environment to thrive.
The Director General of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Dr. Bashiru Jamo, has played host to the Chief Executive of Chakin Maritime and Offshore Training, Sir Charles Wami, at the agency headquarters in Lagos. Charles Wami used the occasion of the visit to congratulate the DG on his 1 year in office, while acknowledging his strides and impact in the maritime sector. In his response, the DG acknowledged Chakin as the foremost private maritime training institution in the country and congratulated the management on the institution's accreditation by the National Board for Technical Education. Dr. Jamo noted that Nigeria still has a long way to go in terms of training and development of adequate manpower for the maritime industry. He assured Sir Wami of Nimasa's commitment to training and exporting manpower in the maritime domain like Singapore and the Philippines.
The Nimasa's intention is not only to provide manpower locally here in Nigeria, but also internationally, just like the way Philippines and Malaysia, Indonesia, they are doing, to train them and export them for the purpose of earning foreign exchange.
Let's talk about enforcement. If there's an issue between a seafarer and its employer, I guess the employer now is the ship owner, how are their rights protected? How are these issues resolved? And then how do we enforce the provisions of the conventions? If the convention says the contract of employment must be in writing, how are all this enforced?
Well, thank you once again. Talking about implementation, let me take it from that angle. There are 16 areas that are covered by the convention and specifically relate to the seafarers' living and working conditions. I give, for example, it is expected that a ship, for it to be certified compliant, must declare that the conditions that are spelled out in what we call Declaration of Maritime Labor Compliance Part 1, which is issued by the agency, the ship owner needs to declare or affirm that truly the vessel has met that condition in line with the 16 area. Take, for example, one of the area. One of the areas is that there must be a minimum requirement for a seafarer to be on board. And that minimum requirement may relate to age. For instance, we say you must be of a certain age. For instance, 17 years old. You cannot
so
be.
The minimum age is 17.
17 years.
Okay.
It varies from country to country.
If you don't meet any of these requirements, like you have indicated, the certificate is not issued, and that means that the vessel cannot move from one port to the other.
At the beginning, when you don't meet the requirement, of course, provisions is made when you conduct the first inspections to identify some deficiency. And in that process, you give a timeline for them to rectify those deficiencies so as to go back into operations. So those are the processes.
Thank you for that. Sir, can you throw more light on real-life issues that happen between seafarers and ship owners on board? As we can imagine that at sea, do seafarers go on strike? I mean, they find themselves in the middle of nowhere at sea. Is it possible they go on strike? Do they have issues while they're at sea with the ship owners, bothering any of their welfare, or what kind of challenges, real-life situations that must have happened and you've had to step in?
Okay, I may not be able to tell you exactly about a real-life situation so that I don't divulge confidentiality of ship owners and their employees. Now, but one of the biggest challenges we have on board, which comes in from time to time, and these issues are handled by our Maritime Labor Relations units, that is with welfare and grievance handling, is that we have a challenge with the girl child. A lot of people don't want to have girls on board. As we are encouraging girls to go on board, a lot of shipping companies, manning agents, queen agents are faced with that challenge of having, let's say, a crew of 16 and one lady. So usually we make sure they are not less than 2 so that there can be a companion to talk to. But a lot of people are still apprehensive to have ladies on board in the midst of men, and then for 3 months they're at sea, 4 months. But we're getting over it. There's a lot of psychotherapy going on, making people realize that the work environment, you can't avoid having women. Women are now, maybe perhaps very soon, we have an all-female crew. In aviation, we're already having all-female crew.
It would be nice to see the all-female crew.
But we are encouraged because a lot of ship owners are accepting cadets and accepting female seafarers, because that's the focus by the ILO, and even the IMO is on empowering the girl child, empowering women. There are usually issues with necessaries, supplies on board, fresh water, food, drugs, and but they are not issues that have been too predominant. I mean, there are issues that have been handled, but you know, the economic climate has also put a lot of burden on ship owners, such that some ships are at ports, they are at anchorage, no business, and they keep steaming, they keep paying wages. But as life returns back to normalcy, the economic aspects would impact on employment and the welfare of seafarers, and we hope things will get better. But by and large, we've had a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you for coming to this segment.
Thank you, madam.
We appreciate your time. Thank you, Dr. Kuje, for coming to this segment.
Thank you.
Viewers, you've heard it all on the Maritime Labour Convention 2006. We hope that we've provided a very good information on how the convention works. Nimasa this week, the voice of maritime continues.
Library Unit under Planning, Research and Data Management Services Department of Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Nimasa recently organized an orientation and sensitization program for research staff from Eastern Zones, Central Zones and Abuja Zones of the agency. Present at the orientation program was the Director Planning, Research and Data Management Services of the agency, who emphasized that the library will accelerate the capacity building of the staff of Nimasa in terms of their learning needs and valuable information.
We must have a repository of where readings are to be taking place, and this is the library. And we hope that this will enable us meet up internal responsibilities with the stakeholders and also the external responsibilities with our stakeholders with respect to them having the knowledge of what happens in the maritime industry and the global maritime space.
The head of the library unit, Hajia Aisha Askira, took the orientation program and informed participants of the agency's willingness to extend the library services to staff and stakeholders in all the zones for improved intellectual development and performance.
We want all the staff and stakeholders of the agency to be able to access the electronic resources, services and facilities available for them in this Nimasa library. These are all part of present Nimasa management commitment and drive to have a knowledge-based maritime administration in the country.
The Nimasa library is a hybrid type, having both the conventional and the electronic. It provides information resources and services to support the agency in pursuing its goals and achieving its tripod mandate of maritime safety, maritime security, and shipping development. Staff during the training were taken round the facilities and they shared their experience.
Now with the e-library platform, staff and other stakeholders can stay in from there, like me that came from the central zone. I can remain in my station and then Google through and log in through the e-library and then access books for promotion of the shipping activities so long as the Nimasa business is concerned.
Library is built basically for research. That's what we understand. And this is an opportunity for us as Nimasa staff from zones to come and get the training to train others in our various zones.
When we go back to our respective zones, we are still going to train others. I just want to say thank you to the present management, the executive management. They've done us so well. We are proud of Nimasa now. We are proud to be part of Nimasa. At least we can go anywhere and say, yes, we have a e-library that we can be proud of.
The library block is a two-story building located within the Nigerian Maritime Resource Development Center NMRDC complex in Kirikiri, which was renovated and remodeled to international standards.
Recently, the fast-growing barge transportation services witnessed a mishap when several containers being transported were submerged at the Tinkan Island waters in Lagos.
What actually happened here is that this very barge, with what I'm seeing now, has holes underneath, and sometimes they have no compartment, and if any water ingress into the tanks, we easily lease this vessel, which we end up in what they call angle of low. The container on board this barge are very badly positioned on a weak barge.
To avoid further occurrence of such incidents and to properly regulate barge operations in Nigerian waters, members of the newly inaugurated Barge Operations Regulatory Committee visited the accident scene to assess the situation. The committee, which members drawn from the Nigerian Port Authority, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, National Inland Waterways Authority, Lagos State Waterways Authority, and Nigerian Shippers Council, after the inspection, the committee noted that barge operations are booming because of traffic gridlocks on the roads, but with no proper regulation, operations in the sector were prone to abuses. They further noted that most barge operations were carried out with unlicensed and unstandardized barges manned by untrained personnel who operated from illegal jetties without adherence to any safety standards in their loading, insurance policies, and nighttime operations of the sector, among others. They also observed that barge operations were becoming obstructive to other waterway users. Representatives of some of the agencies spoke about the need to regulate barge operations.
The most important aspect of it is safety of navigation, to ensure that the barges are well constructed and also they are well certificated, and also to ensure that we have competent people manning these barges.
It's a good thing, it's a good start for us in Lagos, in waterways, so that the activity of the containers will not affect other waterways users. We don't want them to cause an issue. We don't want them to cause accident on our waterways.
Yeah, the barging operation is relatively new, and we are not 100% satisfied with the operations. We are trying to regulate them and modify some of the existing regulations as concerns barge operations.
So right now we discovered that our waterways is becoming unsafe. We have seen within the last 2 weeks barges are beginning to capsize in the waterways, and as a result of that we discovered that there is need for synergy between Nigerian Port Authority, NIWA and Nimasa to come together, to work together to ensure that our waterways are safe. And as a result of this, we had this meeting today, and we have agreed on key points to ensure that our waterways are safe.
My name is Dr. Bashir Jamo, the Director General, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, on board SMB DB Abuja. You are watching Nimasa This Week, the Voice of Maritime. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. It's still Nimasa This Week, the Voice of Maritime. At this point, let's read a tweet from the DG of Nimasa off his Twitter handle @Jamo Bashir. On this week's tweet, the DG is celebrating the International Women's Day. I joined today to celebrate all of our women, especially the women in maritime, who have shown tremendous and matchless resilience in our ever-demanding sector and made great contributions. Happy International Women's Day. Where would the world be without women? Little wonder there was such a celebration of the Nimasa women by the DG to mark the event. As always, you can continue this conversation with the DG by using the hashtag The Voice of Maritime. The Twitter handle remains @Jamo Bashir. Additionally, the Nimasa official has a number of social media handles that you can also engage to keep the maritime conversation going on. We also have our website as displayed on your screen, where week on week we continue to update all interested parties on happenings in the Nigerian maritime domain. you've enjoyed today's episode of the program Nimasa This Week, the Voice of Maritime, and to understand how blessed we are as a maritime nation, and to encourage your participation in this all too important sector. The pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects the wind to change. But the realist simply does the needful. He adjusts his sails to meet the ever-demanding conditions and elements. That has got to be the attitude we all portray if we are to realize our maritime dreams. My name remains Ubong Esen. Until I see you next time, stay on course.